Now, more than 500,000 Kenyans are likely to suffer job losses come September 2025 when the Africa Growth Opportunity Act, AGOA, comes to an end. This as the government of Kenya says it is in talks with the United States government in seeking to better the bilateral ties. From AGOA to the 10% tariff set to be imposed in 3 months and on to the negotiations from President Donald Trump's first presidency, whose implementation did not come to pass, Nina Shaban gives us an in-depth report on the Kenya-US trade relations on tonight's On the Money.
You could say it's a sigh of relief for many U.S. trading partners having President Donald Trump extend the impositioning of tariffs for another 3 months. But what next after 90 days? Do these traders, especially the ones in Kenya, do we see them actually absorbing these tariffs, or do they extend them to their partners in the U.S.? It's only fair that we start this report by listening to their sentiments. One of Kenya's biggest exports to U.S. is apparels that have enjoyed a tariffs holiday for a quarter of a century. Pankaj Bedi, a long-serving player in the textile industry, is the chairperson of the apparel exports under the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. He says Trump has sort of turned the market upside down.
Which is the minimal which they have done. But the other side is that, those are a very short-term edge which we have. I'm sure other countries are going to go back, they'll start negotiating, and President Trump being the deal maker, I'm sure he has plan B, C with everybody, and they know exactly what they want from others, right? So I think that edge should not be celebrated. So the challenge what we have is that if we get these 10% tariffs over and above the 20% inefficiencies which we already have in our costing due to high cost of operation here, then it'll become more challenging. And right now, how our sector works is that we have 4 to 6 months order book, everybody has, because you have to plan ahead. And we have orders till September, till AGOA expires, so buyers have at least given everybody orders till September. And now from here to September, we need to find a way how to mitigate these 10%, because obviously buyer would want to also not pay those 10%.
Frank Omondi, the chief executive of the Grow Fairly Limited, a company trading in macadamia nuts, could not agree more.
So to get tariffs showing up immediately is a big shock. So the market is shocked, and even now we're still talking to our traditional buyers on how do we manage the tariff.
The 10% tariff issue is just but a drop in the ocean. What traders in this space are more worried about is the African Growth Opportunities Act, which comes to an end in September 2025. Under the AGOA, Kenya benefits from duty-free and quota-free access to the U.S. market for a wide range of products in the apparel and agricultural sector, a norm that has been in existence for 25 years. Whereas both Pankaj and Frank agree business may have been tough, AGOA has been the lifeline for many Kenyan businesses.
AGOA business has been very challenging for everybody, not only my company, but I think across the board. Good thing is the sector players were very mature and have, been very resilient. So like I said, we've seen the whole, starting from 2000 to 2004, quotas going away, to financial crisis, to AGOA getting expired and then getting short-term extensions, then coming COVID and the ripple effect. So it has been though the perception is different.
I believe US is buying almost 40% of Kenya's macadamia nuts. So it's a big buyer. And if you imagine the size of macadamia market in the US is nearly $700 million. Kenya is only able to ship $60 or $62 million into the U.S., so we are only 10% of the U.S. market.
Tobias Orlando, the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, KAM, explains that AGOA is about much more than trade balance between Kenya and the U.S.
Trade between Kenya and U.S. is crucial and critical. U.S. is, I would say, our 4th or 5th largest market in terms of export. So definitely there will be trade imbalance. So we need to have this conversation done so that we have a renewal. AGOA in itself employs about 150,000. In terms of value for money, we exported about over $700 million to the US. generating a foreign exchange to this country.
So what happens when there's no more AGOA?
Our farmers grow macadamia trees. It takes 3 years for it to be ready. And you break even in year 7. So if you're caught in between with the tariffs, if other countries start doing the same, and we are generally an export crop, then we're not giving long-term confidence to our farmers.
I don't think any future for my business or for the sector here. Then, maybe companies will decide to move towards the localization, move towards AFCFTA. Even under AFCFTA, we have challenges around the rules of origin, 3 transformations and all that. It's not workable. Unless then the government now works with the community and gets one transformation. Some companies might survive, but EPZ companies who are structured to do the American mass commodity business won't survive.
The most crucial and important thing for the government to do is to have it renewed. Have it renewed, and the negotiation should have it renewed at 0%. However, if we get it at 10%, it's also a good option, looking at the comparative advantage that we have.
From the government's perspective, AGOA coming to an end should not be cause for alarm. Juma Mkhwana, the Principal Secretary for Industries, says the two governments are in talks as he seeks to assure Kenyans that positive outcomes are expected.
We were at the tail end of negotiating the strategic partnership and investment agreement with the US, the STIP. And this is something that we initiated since 2019. We were at a very tail end of completing that agreement. So we have requested that, first of all, the 10% that has been put on Kenya be removed, because we already have some kind of a discussion about the bilateral agreement. And so the 10% be removed, and then the negotiations be concluded as quickly as possible.
Piers Mkhwana adds that the government's interventions are at the highest level of the ministry.
If you talk about negotiations, we are not initiating new negotiations with the US. We already had negotiations that were ongoing, and mostly we had agreed on a lot of the chapters and the issues that we needed to address. And so that is what we have informed the US. And the way I see also, so I know that there has already been a delegation to the US headed by the Cabinet Secretary. I do know that within a short time we're also expecting a delegation from the US to come here.
More than 500,000 people are said to suffer job losses by September 2025, and factories are threatening to shut down. But still, the Kenyan government remains optimistic and positive due to the ongoing negotiations that they're having with the US government. It's just a wait and see. Nina Shaban, NTV.